This is Adam King from Aliens Don't Ring Doorbells, and you're listening to Madness to Creation.
Go ahead, say it.
Welcome to the Madness to Creation podcast, where self-care and music merge. This is Maddie. How are you? On this episode, we have Christian rock artist Jodi Essex. She is based out of Chicago, and me and her, we talk on Instagram, and me and her just decided, hey, let's do a podcast together. So lo and behold, here it is. It was just a fun conversation, talk about her singles such as What Is Your Truth, also talking about cancel culture and the ideas behind that, how that could affect music. We also talk about just how we should be sensitive and loving as Christians, and towards all walks of life. And it's just a really fun, enlightening, spiritual-driven discussion. And Jodi Essex is also in the studio creating music with the guitarist of Disciple. And I'm so looking forward to seeing what the next step is having for her. And we're actually talking about bringing her on as a semi-regular guest on here, or a co-host, I should say. And you can find this podcast on Spotify, Spreaker, YouTube, Geo7, SoundCloud, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. And you can also find us at Madness to Creation on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram, and MTC Madness on Twitter. But I'm going to tell you, Twitter I don't use very much. If you want to add me there, cool, but you're more likely to get a response from me on Instagram. Instagram and TikTok are the two main platforms. And just to let you know, on August 1st, we are launching a Patreon. And there's going to be more of an organized schedule. Because to tell you the truth, due to personal things in my life, which I will get into another episode, I've been kind of behind on episodes. So right now, I'm just looking at getting episodes cranked out. So on that note, hopefully you enjoy this interview. Give a like, comment, subscribe. I will love you forever if you do that. All right, be well, be safe, and be happy. Welcome to the Madness to Creation podcast, where self-care and music merge. This is Maddie. How are you? Here I have with me is Jodi Essex. Jodi, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Maddie?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. And I couldn't help but notice one thing I tend to do when I do these podcast conversations is I look in the background, and it looks like when I look to your left, it looks like I know it's not broken glass, but it kind of looks like that. What is that? I'm just kind of curious.
This piece. Yeah, it's a really cool piece of art that I have yet to find the perfect spot for. So, it's kind of, I love blacks and gunmetals and silvers and that kind of thing.
Cool.
So that's what attracted me to it. It's like an explosion in the sky, but I don't know where I want to put it yet. So it's kind of just hanging out.
Yeah, I love art. So what other kinds of art do you like? Do you like more like contemporary art, or do you like just going to like art galleries, art shows, or anything like that?
You know what? I'm not particular. I think if just something speaks to me and something about something just attracts me to it, then I like it. And it doesn't have to be a well-known artist. It can be, somebody who's a little bit more obscure. If you look over my right shoulder, there's a little statue up there, which is Rodin, and it's the thinker.
Oh, okay.
Where he's sitting there, and he's just like thinking. So that's I love that's my favorite, because I feel like I'm a thinker.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you like to think about and all that? Like when you, whether you pray or whether you meditate or whatever it is that you do, what do you like to think about?
I think I do a little bit of all of that. I have meditative moments where I am just trying to reflect on something that I may be just going through, something that I need clarification on. But I also pray as well. Being a Christian, and obviously prayer is just a simple conversation with God. And I do both, a little bit of both.
Yeah, absolutely. And to me, having that is just so essential to our lives and our well-being and all that stuff. And like for example, just kind of give you a little bit of a backstory as of late. My dad is battling cancer right now, and so it's kind of one of those things where I've kind of went to meditation, went to prayer and stuff like that, and for some reason I just have had this really positive attitude and everything like that. And what gives you a positive attitude or a positive outlook in life? Because I noticed that like through your Instagram posts, And I also noticed that through your music.
So, I mean, I think there are several things that I'm inspired by. Definitely having a spirituality, having God in my life is a big deal. First and foremost, and then second, I think some people have to learn, especially, I mean, in my case, to foster a positive attitude. I think we all come out a certain way, but I think life can be rough and tumble and just throw us some of the toughest things, and I think we have to learn to that resilience required to get through life and that tenacity. And I think when you see yourself doing those things and gaining those things, that gives you the confidence, the positivity, and then you feed off of that. So I think it's something that you definitely have to foster. I think some people are a little bit more just, like you've heard of the eternal optimist, that kind of thing. And I think there are some people out there like that, but I think positive self-talk is a huge one. That's a huge training tool. And I think that's something that we all, need to work on to help foster that process.
Yeah. And kind of based on what you're saying is I really do positive self-talk. And like, for example, I have a list of things that next to my mirror, like just things I'm grateful for and all that stuff. Like I'm grateful for God, my family, music, doing what I love and everything like that. And just depend on what's going on throughout the day. And what list do you have? Like if you have a list like that, what are some things that you are grateful for?
Oh gosh, I'm thankful every time I wake up. I know that sounds cliche, but literally we aren't promised tomorrow. So every time I wake up, it may not be my favorite weather in the morning, but I'm always thankful for that. I'm thankful for God. I'm thankful for his influence in my life. I'm thankful for my family, for friends. I'm thankful just to be alive, the opportunity to live. And I'm not saying it's easy and I'm not saying it's great all the time, but I mean, life is pretty amazing and it is what you make it.
Absolutely.
It's avoiding playing the role of the victim and really going out and making it what you want it to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of one thing I was going to ask you, like you consider yourself a Christian artist and stuff like that. And I kind of follow for some reason, like just people's journey in life, whether they step into faith or whether they step out of faith or anywhere in between. And Kevin Max of DC Talk is he's working on deconstructing. And like, what is like your response to that? And and all that.
To people kind of walking away from their faith and deconstructing it. Everybody's different, but I would need to first find out or ask where that was initiated, where that came from. Because there's so much to our faith. There's God as a basis. There is our mentors, our pastors, leadership, that kind of thing. People that we learn the gospel from. So I first would need to find out, honestly, why somebody is even wanting to depart, what their reasons are for it, before I could really kind of, crack into that. Because there could be so many reasons why that exists, and everybody is, their own personal reason is their own. But I think sometimes, I mean, as of late, some of the stories that have been circulating that I've heard, I feel like they are examples of not realizing or not possessing, not having a true relationship with Jesus Christ or God, not realizing what the nuts and bolts truly are of it, not being taught maybe properly by mentors or pastors. And it just never becomes a real thing to them. It easily could have happened to me. I was born and raised in a Christian home, and, growing up spoon fed a lot of what shaped my beliefs. And then once we get older, we realize, okay, well, wait a minute, I'm going to start questioning these things that I was taught, all the things that I heard. And I think that's kind of where the breaking point happens. So you either, solo and journey on your own to find out really what a relationship with Jesus Christ is, a relationship with God is about. And it has to be real. You have to seek it. You have to get to the bottom of it. So I feel like if people have journeyed for like 20 years of their life, 10 years of their life, whatever it may be, and in their mind, back of their minds, they had an idea of what faith is, about a walk is, that kind of thing. But they never really feel it. They never feel fulfilled by it, but they do what everybody around them tells them to do to try to foster it. Then I think that can give someone a false sense of what that walk truly is for themselves. Instead of, they're shaped again by what people are saying to them, how they're influenced, and not truly what they know a true spiritual walk to be. But
yeah,
it's an expansive thing. This is a huge rabbit hole, so it could go on and on.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of what the podcast is all about, is like today I interviewed, I don't know if you're familiar with the band Nonpoint. I talked to Elias, and we just, all of a sudden, we just went down this big political rabbit hole, and we just kind of just talk about whatever comes to mind, really. And just kind of one of the things I was kind of thinking about in my journey is like, I haven't gone to church for a few years, I'll be honest with you on that. And it's because like, I feel like a lot of churches are kind of trendy, if that makes sense. They try to follow like whatever like the social trends are and everything like that. And it just doesn't feel authentic. But when I go to like a church that's more traditional, which I have, I get that fulfillment out of it. But it kind of makes me wonder if I'm kind of if I'm looking in the wrong place, and stuff like that. Like, I mean, it's kind of hard to.
I 1000% understand you, because one of the songs I'm going back to Nashville this next weekend.
Okay.
I'm working with a guitarist out of Disciple.
I was going to ask you about that.
Super excited about it. But I wrote a song called Offend. And the chorus is, will you offend for the gospel, or will you stand for mankind? The dragon rears its ugly head when you sell out of your life. And really what that song is about, one of the first lines in the verse is, this ain't your Sunday brunch club. So it is about actually some of the super churches, some of the churches that are jumping on that trendy bandwagon. They're not teaching the gospel. People are, they're seeking something. When they step into a church and they step into the presence of a pastor who is just someone who's very educated, very trained, and very called to the ministry to teach, to divulge the Bible, the gospel, that's what they're seeking. They step into a church, and I assume that that's what most people are seeking. And maybe some don't know quite what they're seeking, but generally that's what you think you're going to receive when you walk into a church. So when you walk into a church, and all of a sudden, whoever's standing at the pulpit starts teaching about, everybody, you just need to be kind to each other. And that's the extent of a walk with Jesus Christ or Christianity, which of course we have to be kind to each other, of course. But there's so much more that goes on, right, in the Bible about being kind, loving your neighbor, that kind of thing. So it is not about... It's about offending for the gospel. Innately, the Bible is going to offend people. But if you're not bold enough to stand up to your congregation and the people that come in there seeking spirituality, well, then you shouldn't be up there teaching, right? People are there seeking something, and you are a voice of God. You're a messenger of God, and you're there to give the gospel, give the message, and inspire and enlighten people. You're not there simply to make them feel good. You're not there to just see how many seats you can fill. You're not there to dress in your Sunday best and just put on this big super rock show on stage with a gigantic worship team. There has to be purpose in that. And the purpose has to be primarily focused on God.
Yeah. And you kind of took the words right out of my mouth. And I think it's in our human nature for us to always seek for something more, whether it's God or whether it's that higher power, something like that. And, so like, I was going to ask you, like kind of go back to working with the guitarist and Disciple. I can't remember his name for the life of me.
Josiah Prince.
Josiah Prince. Thank you. And how'd you get linked up with that? And in terms of your concerts, do you like, I don't want to say preach, but do you like, I don't know what the right word is. Do you talk about like the gospel and stuff?
Yeah, people. So I'll go back to your first question. How I first met Josiah or got connected with him is Whitney's my publicist, and she's also my marketing team, my marketing machine. She has a partner, a colleague that she works with whose name is Adam Palmer. And Adam actually used to be in a band and toured, and out on the road, he met, he was touring with Disciple. So he became friends with Josiah. They struck up a friendship. They remained friends. And when I was talking to my marketing team about, okay, so here comes round number 2 of songs. Here's my sound. Here's what I've written. This is, I want to work with a different producer just because I love collaborating with other people. And so Adam actually mentioned, hey, what do you think of Disciple? And I'm like, well, I love Disciple. And so he goes, yeah, I actually know I'm friends with Josiah, and he's producing other artists now if you'd be interested. So he made the connection there, and we hit it off really well. I had a first session with them 2 weeks ago out in Nashville, and rocked out 2 killer tunes that I'm going back next week to do final vocals on, and I'm writing a couple of other songs with him. And in terms of your second question, concerts, do I quote unquote preach or witness to people? I don't, mainly because that's not my style. People know that I'm a Christian artist. I'm open about it. I don't hide it. If people ask me about it, I'm open to teach them. I'm open to telling them anything they want to hear. When I am performing, though, I definitely am focused on the message in my music. I definitely want to have a God-anointed performance. I want him to be in our performance. That's who I'm singing for. That's who's inspiring the music, the message. So I do work at making sure that my message gets across, but I'm not a preachy type personality. But I'm completely wide open and transparent about my inspiration and having the message in my music.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, so do you see yourself performing in front of non-Christian audiences or anything like that? Or do you see yourself primarily just in
both.
The Christian market?
Both. Yeah. And actually, I would say I probably have more secular listeners than faith-based listeners, Christian listeners. I think people hear my music and without knowing what the lyrics are right off, they're like, man, this is a rockin' tune, or this is interesting. I heard it on Pandora, or I heard your music on Spotify. And then they kind of get into it. And then they get into the lyrics secondarily. And I have gotten messages from all over the world, from all walks of life. Some people, Christians, some non-believers, some of different religions. So actually, I have a pretty good mix of listener type.
Okay, so what would you say is one message that one of the things that we talk about in the podcast is when a fan comes up to an artist, do you ever have fans come up to you and be like, hey, this song really resonated with me, and this helped me get through a very difficult time in my life? Can you tell us about that?
So that's funny because my album, as you know, was released last June. So there were 5 singles that came out, but that's when COVID hit. So I was continuing to release all of these songs in my album during COVID. So I haven't had the experience yet to go out and tour in support of this album. So in lieu of that, though, I've received lots of direct messages and inbox messages and that kind of thing on the social media platforms from people who have made those types of statements like, wow, your lyrics really spoke to me. I was really down and out. I'm going through something really hard right now. And one guy was talking about how I led him to Jesus. And so I've received a lot of inspiring messages, which I find is phenomenal because it is I feel like it's easier to see someone on stage and you come up to them and you see them in person and you're excited in the moment, both ways. And you're introducing and you're meeting people and they come up and they just start saying things about how maybe one of your songs influenced them. But to actually have someone contact you and send you a message that you've never met, they're just listening to your music and they're reading your lyrics. To me, that's pretty special. That's something. Because they're not seeing me, in the flesh on stage, just rocking out and trying to, inspire that way. They're somewhere in their car or in their bedroom or in their house or their apartment somewhere, and they're listening to my music and they're reading the lyrics and they're still inspired. And I am blown away by that. Yeah,
it's a pretty amazing feeling, isn't it?
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah. And kind of one of the songs I was actually listening to while I was doing my yoga stretches is What Is Your Truth? And that's my favorite song by you because it's a combination of lyrics, and I am a sucker for guitar riffs. Mm-hmm. How in the world did you come up with that? Did you all come up with that guitar riff? It sounds like it's uplifting, and and it tells a story, you know?
Mhm. Yeah. Well, thank you. First of all, thank you for that. That is actually one of my favorite songs, both musically and lyrically. I always describe it as, it's more of my mid-tempo rock songs, but it's really intense. Like the guitar in the beginning, it's intense, but then it really kind of mellows out and you kind of get engulfed in the lyrics. And I have to tell you, so who came up with that riff? I worked with a guitarist. His name is Jaden Sorensen. He is unbelievable. He's an unbelievable human and musician, and he actually came up with the lead in that and the riff throughout that song. And yeah, I owe that to him. I mean, he literally just listened to it a couple times, and it didn't take him more than 3 times to lay down all the tracks for those songs. He's so gifted, and he's so technically sound and amazing on his guitar. So yeah, Jaden Sorensen, everybody, he's amazing.
Yeah,
and he's like in his mid-20s. He's amazing.
Yeah. So did he, when he did the live stream, did he perform with you on the stage, or is he just a studio musician?
Yeah, no, for the live stream, that was done here in Chicago, and that was a completely different set of people. So in a couple of my music videos, I don't know if you saw Irreverent or Stand Up, those were all the original guys who played on the album. And I really wanted, I love them so much, they're like my brothers, and I wanted them included in the music video. But for the live performance that you see up on stage there with all the other people, that's a completely new set of a new team.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you see yourself like having like a full-time backing band, or are you just gonna like hire out like touring musicians like for when you decide to tour?
Yeah, I think it'll be probably definitely a set group. And pretty much almost everybody that I played with in that live stream, they're game to go and tour. And I sometimes schedule conflicts come up, but I'll have backups too. But for the most part, I think they're probably going to be the team, with the exception of a couple positions that might change now and again.
Yeah, definitely. And do you see yourself performing like in a dive bar, like club type of situation, or do you see yourself performing like in a like a church setting, or like a worship gathering more? Like, where would you rather, if you had to pick one, where would you rather have your audience be?
First and foremost, probably it's a tie. I love churches, but I love theaters. I've always loved performing in theaters, like the Warfield in San Francisco, like just the architecture. And I love moody, dimly lit, and I love intimate environments, although some of the churches seat thousands of people, but I really love an intimate environment and backdrop where I can really just, sink my teeth into the audience and really just relate and really just, get into everybody who showed up that night to listen.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of a question I had back to your faith and stuff. Like, I've been kind of like studying like the cancel culture movement. Like, I'm a political science major, so naturally I tend to study like how people behave in political environments. Like, for example, we had like social unrest, we had like the pandemic, and now the cancel culture movement. Do you see like with you, John Cooper, Skillet, and another person I can't think of right off the top of my head, do you see yourselves being like the counter to that, or you know what I mean? Or do you see yourself being like
to cancel culture?
Right.
I completely disagree with cancel culture. I think it's dangerous. I think it's irresponsible. Just to be frank, and that's pretty much my platform. I mean, it's damaging. I think sometimes, I think there are a million ways to skin a cat and to make your point and to convey something, deliver something to people in a way that they will embrace it, understand it, and act accordingly. But a full-blown, just straight cancel culture, I think it's I think it's unproductive. I don't agree with it at all. And it can really damage individuals, businesses. I think it's a shortcut to just kind of, be really just glib about something and not really offer up any substantiating information about why one feels this way or what is it one understands, or a lack thereof, which usually is the conflict, right? It's usually because someone lacks understanding, a thorough understanding of something, so they just want to throw it out, trash it, cancel it. And I think there might be a 1% out there of things that probably rightfully should be canceled. If something's illegal, something is, horribly racist, if something's abusive, if something's illegal, those types of things. But I mean, our cancel culture has gotten so out of control that I don't know what else I can say about that, except for that it's just a very damaging thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I was going to say, like I kind of see the pendulum kind of based upon this. I kind of see the pendulum in Christian music going back to where people are a lot more bold with their lyrics. People are a lot more like, try to be inspiring, try to be the witnesses, as you said. Do you see the pendulum kind of moving back that way? Because it's, what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, more than ever, especially with people walking away from faith, well-known people, well-known musicians, kind of deconstructing. I think more than ever, the people who are still in the race, in God's race, I think they're speaking more boldly than ever, because part of the reason people are walking away is because they don't have the knowledge. They were spoon-fed something other than the gospel, other than the knowledge, just being told, you should do this, you should believe this, you should think this, instead of seeking it themselves, asking the questions. And I also think that being bold with lyrics, like my song Offend, that's calling out everybody who is in a position to teach, to preach the gospel, and to give people what they're seeking or what they need, and they're not doing it. It's their job. They signed up for that. They say that they're called to it. So I definitely think the pendulum is swinging full bore the other way, where people are far more comfortable being bold in their lyrics and their actions.
Yeah, and it kind of reminds me, based on what you said, it kind of reminds me of a viral video I saw of like pastor kind of disguised himself as a homeless man. And I don't know if you know where I'm going with this, but like nobody gave any food, any money or anything like that to the homeless man. And then he turned out that he was a pastor, and everybody in the congregation was ashamed of themselves. I kind of feel like, somebody as a Christian like you, I kind of like really into like social justice and everything like that. And what can we do to kind of promote like, clothing the naked, feeding the poor and stuff like that? Like, are you involved in anything like that where you kind of help out with that, like any charity or anything like that?
Not in that sector. I think for most of my life, because I'm a cancer survivor myself.
Oh,
So,
congratulations.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, I was diagnosed with cancer when I was 25, and then you're considered in remission after 5 years. And so, so I pretty much always was in the court of all of the, cancer initiatives and that type of thing. And also I have a soft spot for the anti-sex trafficking. I just think that's
Wow.
That's a horrible industry. And anything with children, because I feel like everything starts in the home. Everything starts with children. It's much easier to raise up a child in the way that they should go versus trying to rehabilitate someone who's 50 years old. Not that it can't be done, because it can, but let's give these kids a chance before they launch out into society and, go to school and become a functioning member of society. Let's really lift them up and edify them and educate them. And so those were kind of my three focus points. But of course, in church and things like that, have I done Thanksgiving baskets and given and witnessed and did meals for holidays for the homeless? Of course, I have definitely done that. I've done a ton of that in my past, but those were my three. That's kind of where I focused the most. But in terms of what we can do, I think you just have to get involved. You can't talk about it. If that's something that's on your heart that you want to do, there's so many places to plug into. You can search it online. You can go down to your local churches. And it's interesting that YouTube video that you're watching about that pastor, in Chicago, you just drive downtown and there are homeless people everywhere. And that's a discernment. Instead of maybe going to someone standing on a corner and saying, hey, here's $5, because in all honesty, you're not certain where that's going to go. I would say, hey, you have 30 minutes. Let's go grab a meal. Let's go to Starbucks. Let me grab you something to eat, or let's go to the store and I'll grab you. What do you need? You know, do you have any children? That kind of thing. To me, I think that's a safe bet, because at the end of the day, I mean, nourishment is really important. So that's kind of the route that I'd go.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you brought up that you're a cancer survivor, and congratulations to you on that. Like and I mentioned like before this before I hit the record button, so to speak, that my dad is actually battling cancer.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, you told me about that.
and like one thing that's really taught me is just perspective, living for each day, cherishing the moments and being positive. And in terms of a mental health perspective, which is our main platform and for Madness Creation, what helped you get through like the cancer battles, and what were some of the most challenging things that you went through? And if you're not comfortable answering that question, then you have a right to pass.
No, not at all. First and foremost, God always, man. Yeah, you have some dark moments, and you know, being diagnosed at 25, I mean, life has just begun for you, right? And so, I really, really pulled on my faith big time going through that. And the crazy thing is, I had been to 3 doctors prior before I was actually formally diagnosed. I was complaining of lumps growing in my lymph node areas and some pain. And I went to 3 doctors, and 3 doctors told me 3 separate times, you're fine. Let me give you some antibiotics, do some warm compresses. It's probably just fatty tissue. We can remove it if you want. I mean, 3 trained physicians. And finally, the lumps were were growing and starting to be more painful. And so I went to a 4th doctor, and I told him kind of my history. And he goes, well, you're 25, you're so young. He goes, well, let's look into this. I think first and foremost, let's do a biopsy. And so I went into an office 8:30 one morning when I was 25, right after my 25th birthday. And he did a biopsy, and 12:30 that afternoon, he called me, and he had scheduled me for emergency surgery the very next day. And I had a ton of my lymph nodes removed. So I had lymphoma. And that was just a shocker to my system, because 25, I was just, you know, living the life and just being really productive. And that really stopped me dead in my tracks. But the silver lining to that was, you know, I went through a year of treatment, and it literally gave me a new lease on life, a new perspective, just as you stated. The things that maybe I didn't appreciate as much, I appreciated a ton. The fact that I got to live another year, another month, the fact that I got to live through the year of my treatment and made it through, and here I am today, that just gave me a completely new perspective. And I went out and accomplished all kinds of things. You know, that's kind of when I started touring, and my first 2 secular bands. I got my pilot's license. I just went for it, because I'm like, oh gosh, this could happen again. This could come back. And then what? So the things that I was grateful for, it made me exponentially more grateful for them going through something like that. But you know, Maddie, there were some dark moments though, where I lost so much weight. I was so pale. I just felt I couldn't do anything. And all my friends, you know, they were 25 as well, and they were doing whatever they do. And but got through. I mean, I got through it with God. So that was huge.
Yeah. And I got to say, from the bottom of my heart, congratulations. And I really appreciate you sharing your insight on there. And like, this podcast is going to evolve more to like where we talk about like, I try to base it upon like what I'm going through too. Like,
Yeah, of course.
just like how to prepare yourself if you're going through cancer treatments and all that stuff. And, you know, and like speaking of not cancer, but like we went through a pandemic this past year. I don't know if you've heard of COVID or not, but
Not really.
okay, well, I can educate you on that. No, I'm just kidding. But like, what is the biggest thing that you learned about yourself when we were all in lockdown, in quarantine, and what is something that you discovered about yourself that you didn't know about yourself before?
I don't think I discovered anything new per se, but a realization that I had was getting back to the basics, getting back to simplicity. times, right?
Mm-hmm.
Getting back, instead of thinking that I have to be out of the house and I have to have this meeting and I have to go here and I have to go there and I have to do this travel and I have to go eat here and do this, do that. We were all confined to our homes. And so within those confines, you started doing things that had been on your list for a long time, like going through storage, like cooking more at home, sharing recipes on social media, spending more time in your backyard, spending more time just being, right? You didn't have a lot of options. And I found a real centeredness in that, because I think, most of us have chaotic lives with a lot of diversity going on and just a lot of breakneck speed sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the simplicity of being quarantined and having to do with just what we have and being simply, quote unquote, being, gave me just a new level of gratitude for, what I have and where I am and just the people that I have surrounding me and just the simple things. I just kind of really got back to the simple things.
Yeah, definitely. And kind of one thing I'm kind of afraid of is, as we're seeing the light of the end of the tunnel of this pandemic, I'm afraid that we're going to get back to our old ways. And do you think it's going to be kind of a balance, like in terms of whether it's going to shows or like yourself that's going to be a touring musician and all that? Do you think it's kind of a balance between finding that, that simple life during quarantine and before? Or do you think it's going to be kind of both of that from pre-COVID and current COVID?
Yeah, I think that's, I don't know if you've experienced this too, but have you noticed how, most people in the corporate sector are working from home, right? And companies, even the Silicon Valley companies, they're allowing their employees to still work from home. But I've noticed, and I don't know if you have, that customer service has changed quite a bit. And I feel like some people actually function better when they are in the office or when they are in their sectors.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the pendulum's going to have to swing back the other way. And I think we're going to have to find a little bit more of a stronger or better balance. I think we're all going to struggle with that. I think we're all going to struggle with what we found being quarantined and the life we created for ourselves over a 12-month period versus going out there and really, hammering the pavement again. I think there needs to be a balance. I think we are still a little too much that way. Mm-hmm. And I hope that, with everything opening up, I don't know whether or not, 70% of Americans have been vaccinated, or at least their first injection. People are still masking, social distancing. So hopefully once we get through that and we start, getting out there 100% and we're well on our way, that everyone starts to find balance again, because I think it's needed. I think some things have suffered because of the lack of balance, but we definitely need more balance back in our lives and our system as a whole.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you 100%. Like, I know I need more balance in my life. And kind of another question that I usually ask on the podcast is, what do you want to accomplish? Like, whether it's this week, next week, or the next month, what are some like personal goals and professional goals that you have?
Definitely because of COVID, I wasn't able to tour for the album that was released, which is always a bummer for musicians. So right now, I think it's, short-term goals are to finish the music I'm working on with Josiah right now. Mm-hmm. And with that, I've got a couple of photo shoots coming up. I'll be shooting a couple of music videos. And really, I want to get out there and tour. Not just for the sake of touring, but it's to share my message, to share my music, to impact people, to help people wherever needed. I would love to get to Brazil, because next to my US following, Brazil is my number 2 group of followers. I love some of the Brazilian people that I've met.
Yeah, we talked about that on Instagram.
Yeah, they're really, really an amazing culture. And I would love to get over there and meet, some of the ones that I've met via social media and people that are just listening to my music.
If you want to ever get inspired by Brazilian audience, you need to check out the live video to Rush in Rio, the band Rush, where they did Tom Sawyer. Yeah. And you could just see how passionate they are about music.
Yeah.
And
they are so not a fickle audience. Like,
no, they're not.
If you've gained a Brazilian fan, you've gained one for life. You know, they're not always looking for the next best thing. It's like if they glom onto your music, they're always going to listen to you. You're always going to be on their playlist.
Yeah, and speaking of Brazilian audiences, bands, artists, have you heard of Ego Kill Talent yet?
I haven't.
You need to check them out. That needs to be on your to-do list. Every time I listen to their music, I get goosebumps like everywhere. Like,
Awesome.
yeah,
Is it?
It's kind of hard rock. I hope the Foo Fighters aren't listening to this, but I compare them to if the Foo Fighters went to the Berklee School of Music.
Okay.
And not saying anything against the Foo Fighters. Sorry, Dave Grohl, if you're listening, but they're just supremely talented, you know. And not saying that Dave Grohl isn't. Now he's gonna send me a nasty gram probably if he's listening to this, but you know, but yeah, you need to check them out. So
okay.
what's an artist that you want that you should have me check out that's not you?
Oh my goodness. Burwell. Burwell. Totally the opposite of rock music, but it's that cool ambient. I want to say a cross between like Imogene Heap and Enya.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and also I'm trying to think of Sandoval. Let's see, Mazzy Star. Do you remember Mazzy Star? Did you ever listen to Mazzy Star?
I can't say I have.
Oh my goodness. You listen to Mazzy Star. Mazzystar. Amazing. So
I've heard of them, or he or she.
Yeah, they're amazing. So I think I don't know if they're still together as a band, but really the front singer, she's this cute little petite. I think she's got to be like 4'11", and she just has this little sweet angelic voice. But anyway, yeah, Burwell, Burwell. She's fantastic and has a fantastic voice. So I have a question for you, Maddie.
Okay.
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Have you heard or read about any of that controversy with respect to nominees? Like, do you get fired up about that? Because Pat Benatar still isn't in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, nor the Eurythmics.
Why are they not in the Hall of Fame?
Well, I don't know what is going on, because it is Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's not Music Hall of Fame, right? All of a sudden, we've got all these genres, you know. And I'm not saying that I don't like rap and R&B and pop. It's not that at all. But this is the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So every year I look at the list of nominees, and I'm going, what is happening? What is crazy?
Yeah. I am kind of blown away. I'll be honest with you. I've probably only heard a couple of Eurythmics songs, and one of them is because Marilyn Manson covered it, "Sweet Dreams," and the other one is I can't remember the other one. But Pat Benatar, how is she not in it?
I know. I mean, it's just like, even, you know, I think Heart. I don't know if Heart has been inducted, but even, I mean, just some of those classic rock sounds, those bands that just haven't made it in. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, that's my rant. And it just drives me crazy. You
should do a Jodi Essex songbook and like cover like Heart, Pat Benatar, the Eurythmics. I don't know about the Go-Go's, but I just happen to think of them next, you know.
Right,
you know, and just kind of a couple more questions for you. You recently released a cover video for She Talks to Angels by the Black Crowes.
Oh yeah.
First of all, how freaking awesome is that song? And secondly, would you say the Black Crowes are a big influence in your music?
Ooh, that's a tough question. I think they are an influence. I think I am a huge admirer of the Black Crowes. I mean, Shake Your Moneymaker, that album was just like, whew. I wish I wrote it all, and they're incredibly talented, and they have such a groove and such a vibe. So that's kind of how I feel about the Black Crowes. I mean, they write some incredible music, but can I say that they were, you know, I can't say that any one artist has influenced me. I feel like I'm influenced and shaped by a lot of artists that are out there. But do I love the Black Crowes? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I love their music. I love what they've done to help shape our pop culture.
Yeah, do you see yourself performing like maybe a couple cover songs live? Because you've covered "God Bless USA" by Lee Greenwood, and "She Talks to Angels" by the Black Rose.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I definitely would throw a few covers within my live set for sure. And I'd also I would love to do some collaborations, have a couple people pop in and, maybe do a couple of songs together, but definitely a couple of covers in addition to my originals. Yeah.
For some strange reason, I see you collaborating with Lecrae.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I've thought about that before. Or a Manifest, Lecrae or Manifest. I like both of them. Yeah.
And there's another hip hop artist I'm really into, NF. Have you heard of him?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. They're awesome.
I don't know why I said that, because his videos have millions and millions of views. It's almost like saying, have you heard of Katy Perry before?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Stellar lineup. All three of them. Yep. Great.
Yeah, absolutely. And
where do you great taste? Very diverse taste in music, Maddie.
Yeah, it's I know like my contributors cover more, like one of my contributors, Don, he covers more country music, and it just brings a whole new audience. And I'm trying to cover more like indie music and a little bit hip hop, a little bit of just kind of who I am, like I'm a sucker for grooves and all that stuff. So in your music taste, what are you a sucker for?
Oh gosh. Heavy rock, and then like the concept, the amazing ballad. The amazing ballad with like a huge key change in the bridge. So really, yeah. I think those two.
Yeah, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna send you the "Now" by Ego to Kill Talent video,
okay.
and sometime you should react to it on your Instagram.
Oh, definitely.
And
it over.
Yeah, I just got to figure out how to do this. Okay. Anyways, what else? I feel like I could talk to you forever.
That's good.
Yeah, right? Absolutely.
Conversation flows.
Yeah, and I was gonna say you're more welcome to come back on anytime you want to. Like, just if you just want to give a little updates, or if you want to just, like for example, Thursday I'm interviewing Collective Soul. Like if you want to jump on an interview with me, on there.
That'd be awesome. That's awesome. I would love, of course. Yeah, I would love to.
Awesome. Yeah, so let's talk logistics on there, not on the podcast, but
sure.
Otherwise the listener will be like, what are they talking about? So what else can we add about Jodi Essex? Like, I feel like we've covered so much, and we covered your music, mental health, dude, you being a cancer survivor.
The next wave of music is really awesome. Like really awesome. This next rock song, it's heavier. I think for the first album in the CCM, the Christian music industry, it came out, I put it out, and it has a little bit of everything, although I'm a rock artist because that's my favorite genre, but I threw some ballads on it, some mid-tempos. This first song that's coming out of this new set called Offend with Josiah, it's heavy, but I'm all about a really melodic line all the way through it, vocally or guitar-wise. And then this other song that I'm putting out there, I can't call it a ballad because it's still pretty rockin' too, but it's cinematic. Like it needs to be on a soundtrack, a movie soundtrack. It's amazing, and I'm in love with it. I'm constantly singing it. So I'm really excited to share with you too. And before obviously it comes out, you'll be able to hear it. I'll send it to you. I'll have Whitney send it to you. And I'd really love to get your feedback on it. I think you're really gonna like it. And I think everybody. It's funny because out of all the songs in my album, Irreverent still gets streamed the most. What Is Your Truth and Fighter. And so that just tells me where my audience is, right? They really love the heavier rock stuff. So they're really gonna love the next set of tunes coming out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm honored to listen to it and give you feedback and all that. And Jodi, this is so much fun. And thank you so much. This made my day. So thank you so much for taking the time
to finally meet you in person. I know we've back and forth, but Whitney and I have talked about you. And I mean, you are fantastic from the get-go in support of my music and letting me do that huge interview on your platform. So I really appreciate your time with that.
Oh, of course. And it's an honor to have you on, of course. And it's an honor to have you on the podcast, and which you can listen to on iHeart, Spotify, SoundCloud, Geo7 out in India, Podchaser, Podcast Addict, and Google Podcasts.
Wow, the whole shebang.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll send you that Ego Kill Talent song, and I cannot wait for you to just listen to it, because every time I share Ego Kill Talent with people, they're just like, wow, just like goosebumps everywhere. And well, put it this way, Metallica handpicked them to open their South American tour.
Oh, really? Well, that's big. That's huge.
Yeah, and System of a Down did the same thing, and that's when they're going to be something special. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, I can't wait to see it.
Awesome. And please keep in touch. And I would like to have you on time to time to interview with me and all that stuff. So
I appreciate that. And my prayers and thoughts still go out to your dad. I hope that he gets through this like a champ.
Oh, yep. Yeah, he will. I have every confidence. So.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you, Maddie. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Take it easy.
Sure. Talk to you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.